Okay. Here we go. Okay.
Does everyone
Input,
have
output.
a Dharma request
Will
sheet?
somebody, Info True, can you speak so I can hear you, please?
Okay, can you hear me? Testing.
Can't hear.
Testing.
Why not? Why can't I
Testing.
hear?
Testing.
Let's see here. Maybe we got. Here we go. Okay. System preps.
Testing.
Close that. And here we go. So I need this guy up front, please.
Fashu, you might want to check the GoToMeeting audio settings.
Sorry, here. Let's see.
Yeah.
There we go. Audio. Okay. Audio input is Java. Audio output is Java.
Can you hear us now?
Now I can.
Testing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent. That was my fault. The computer's getting it all worked out here. Okay. Now we can. I will wait to.
Dharma Master, because Feather will be doing the Dharma request, so we've had to put the screen up a bit. Maybe on your side, could you not have the text on the last 3 inches of your screen?
Okay, let's try. I'm not sure.
This is nice. Yeah, what you just did when you minimize it, that works great.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. There we go.
Sangha with great virtue out of compassion for the sake of this assembly and all living beings. Please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach us to leave suffering and attain bliss and then birth and death and quickly realize number.
I'll give you a line and you give it back. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Namo Sadanto Edoye Kodahudi Samyao Sanputoshe. Okay, and now those who can, together, Wu Shang Shen Shen Wei Miao. Here we go. The unsurpassed, deep. Now, excellent. Excellent. Wow, that works really well. Lovely. So we have now done our Dharma request, and I am here with Sam. Here's Sam, providing technical resources, technical support, and on your end, you have our usual crew of kind-hearted volunteers who have come forward to make this lecture happen. So we appreciate that, and it includes people up in Calgary. It includes, oh my goodness, I can see the top of the screen. How about that? The bottom of the screen. Look at that. Can you raise that screen? Yeah, right. Oh, perfect. Yeah, and we have it's a little different today than it will be other Saturday evenings because our planned for modem upgrade didn't happen this week. So with any luck and all, we'll be next week over in our Dharma hall with a sizable audience and the presence of the Buddhas behind me and the way it's been the last couple of weeks, only better quality. Now, it would be funny if I, from the other side of the planet, scolded you people for leaving the front row's seats empty, wouldn't it? So to prevent that from happening, you really don't want me to say, why are you leaving those seats empty? Who are you waiting for? The monks are sitting behind you. Even I can see that. So why don't Michael and Tam and is that Homero? I don't know who that is. Please sit forward. Actually, Feda, you're wearing a black robe. You could sit up front, and people would feel comfortable. And on the women's side, Alice, thank you. Good. Who else? You're just so comfortable back there, sitting as if I can't see you. I can actually call your names. My goodness. How nice this is to be able to see it interact. Good. Much, much better. Now I feel, more closely connected because we've filled up the seats. Now, I want to tell you something. We just said goodbye to Jin Fangshi. She will be leaving in 2 hours, right, Sam? Heading back to California. Her destination is CTTB, and Jin Fangshi is Laura's Jie, and she has been here in Gold Coast for about 6 months. 6 months, and she's really made a difference here. We're sad to have her go back, but I'm sure California will be delighted to have her show up. So she's on her way back, and she'll be there in half a day. Let us begin. Now we're going to work this out to see how. That's not what I want. It's my Dharma talk. We're looking for preview. There it is right there. And I need to come back to page 12, but for the time being, I want this one right there. And could you get me the wooden fish? I'm going to lead us. Can you all see that page? Yes? Whoever has the microphone has to give me a affirmative.
Yes, see the page.
Great, thank you. If somebody wants to hang on to that mic, you're in the hot seat of having to respond, but sometimes I need to hear yes and no. Okay, so we are going to recite this, and some musically gifted person really needs to think about how to make this more musically, less minor. It's in a minor key now, and it's more of a story. We'll save that story for later. But this really needs a facelift in terms of music. Here we go. We are now invoking the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the Avatamsaka Assembly. So people put your palms together. Namo Tafang Guangpo Payen Jin Ayen Hai Hui Pu Sa Namo Tafang Guangpo Payen Jin Ayen Hai Hui Pu Sa Namo Tafang Guangpo Payen Jin Ayen Hai Hui Pu Sa Namo Tafang Guangpo Payen Jin Ayen Hai Hui Pu Sa. Two more. Namo Tafang Guangpo Payen Jin Ayen Hai Hui Pu Sa. Namo Tafang Guangpo Payen Jin Ayen Hai Hui Pu Sa. Let's try the English one time. Palms together, here we go. Homage to the Buddhas, Flower Garland Sutra, of great expansive teachings, and the ocean-wide Flower Garland Assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Excellent. Go back to page 12 here. Now, do you all have your sutra books? Do you all have it in paper in front of you?
Yes, we do.
You do, great. Thank you. Okay, so because I'm working off an iMac, which has a large screen, but not, it's only one screen, so I have to share my time between the, you all, your faces, my face, and the sutra text, like this. So we'll have to go back and forth to make this work. And since you all have the paper text in your hand, that'll make it much easier. So let's, how do we do this? So Let's do it one side at a time. There. Okay. Let's see. Here we go. Okay, we'll start here. 佛子 right there. 菩萨如是观察有为. We actually explained that last week, but it's a thought with the next line, so we want to get our context. Okay, I'm going to put my palms together, and I'll give you a line, and you give it back to me. Here we go. 佛子菩萨如是观察有为 多诸过患 无有自性 不生不灭 而恒起大悲 不舍众生 记得般若波罗蜜现前 明无障碍光明 Okay, and there we go. All right. Let's see. I think better to do it one after the other so we don't try to... If we try to do unison, there's a time lag of about a half a second, which doesn't work. Here we go. Disciples of the Buddha, your turn. The Bodhisattva in that way contemplates the conditioned as having many faults and disasters, and as being without a nature of its own, and so not produced and not destroyed. Yet he constantly gives rise to great compassion, and does not forsake sentient beings. Right then, Prajna Paramita manifests before him, which is called the unobstructed light of wisdom. Excellent. Okay. You did something to the audio just then, which like tripled the volume on my side. That it made it much clearer. I don't know what you did, but it worked, whatever that was.
Pointed a mic at the assembly when they were reciting.
Ah, that helped. That made a big difference. If I do this, if I split the screen like this, does that work? Can you see both? Can you see me and the screen and you? Is that okay?
Yes, we can see. The thing is, the screen, we always see you actually. So regardless of where you put the text, we always see you.
Okay, that sounds terrible. My concern. Sorry. So, what do you like? I want you to be able to see the screen, and I want to be able to see you. So, can you see the text right now?
Yeah, we can see the text.
Hey, super. Good. All right, we've done it.
We also have the text in front of us too, so we can always use the book.
Yeah, that's right, that's right. Okay, super, here we go. So, disciple of the Buddha, the Bodhisattva, like this, contemplates how all things with conditions have problems implicit in them. And because I see almost everybody there is a veteran of these lectures, so I don't have to take us back. I don't have to contextualize. So let's just go ahead, right? Dig in. So the Bodhisattva sees how things have a problem built into them, and the problem built into them is that they fall apart. Just today in meditation with our group here in Gold Coast, I was running by the three hallmarks of all dharmas, and boy, that list is hard to beat. Everybody know the 3 hallmarks of dharmas? I'm sure you all do. It's sometimes they become 4. And what the Buddha is doing is he's giving us a physics lesson. He's saying, if you look at everything, you'll notice that things don't last long. They come and they go. 2, you can't get any single thing that hits the spot. You can't get anything that satisfies. There's no single thing that once you get it, once you own it, once you experience it, ever is the last thing you need. And 3, things don't have any identity in themselves. The names don't match the reality. And the reality doesn't match the reality. Right? It's called the Sanfa Yin. So, reviewing, all dharmas are ku, kong, wu chang, wu wo. And the way the Chinese Mahayana tradition does it, they put ku, kong together. So ku, what is called the Sanfa Yin, the 3 hallmarks of dharmas. So what's the ku? The ku is the unsatisfying part. If you say all dharmas are suffering, people go, you're just depressed. Maybe you need a vacation. They don't, that's because why? That's a bad translation. To say everything is suffering, that's not true. Some things are really fun. Ice cream, for example, in small doses is really fun. So chocolate, chocolates leave suffering? No. The Buddha is not out to take everything we like away from us. That's not what Buddhism is about. What he did say was that things that we get don't hit the spot, and it's not the problem of the thing, it's the problem of our anticipation of it and consumption of it. Oh, I just had a profound insight. I'm looking at Michael, and I'm looking at Alice, and you guys are doing this. That's why the front row is empty. Aha, I put it together. Talk about suffering. Now this is suffering, right? How was the Dharma lecture? It was fine, but you know what? I'm not going back. I can't afford the chiropractor bills. Oh, now I get it. Man, we have that huge screen right there, and it's like, up there. Okay, if you guys want to move back, it's like, that's just too much misery. Looking. I was giving you a lesson in cool, right? I was just making my point, the Buddha's point here. What? Everything, all dharmas are suffering, including the sutra lecture, because, Okay, sorry about that. Now I get it. Okay, the Buddha said, it's not the fault of the stuff. It's not dharma's fault. It's our fault. That we want stuff and it never quite satisfies the wanting part. The problem is in the desiring it, because the nature of desire is never satisfied. So it's like a fire. Throw more stuff on it, more stuff burns, the fire burns brighter. That's true if you're a billionaire, right? How many millionaires die looking for that 3rd million? The first one wasn't enough, second one wasn't enough. In the process of getting the 3rd one, wow. So anyway, that's what he said. The nature, when the Buddha here says, doju gohuan, all things, all conditioned things are disasters and faults. No, it's a bad translation. Just means they lead to troubles. Things bring troubles built in, not because of the things themselves, but because of what we do with them, which is we want them and we grab them, and then they go ku kong, so that the formula, ku kong, ku, suffering, no, unsatisfying, yes, don't hit the spot, right? And then kong, empty, follows right there. And that's another bad translation. All things in the world are empty. You go, you got a problem, mister. Something wrong with you. Clearly they're not. That's logically ridiculous. This is not empty. It's got liquid in it. So to say things are kukong, suffering and empty, you really need to try it again. Now, interesting though, I don't think the Chinese, because they have some monster capacity for Dharma, understood it any better by saying Kukong. Why? The Buddha, saying things are dukkha and shunyata, he's not making a metaphysical statement. He's not talking about the universe. If he was, we would say, I don't like this principle. This makes no sense. Things are not Kukong, suffering and empty. What are they? They're unsatisfying and impossible to get. Empty means, make it a verb. They empty themselves out. They go bad. Things don't follow their names. Things don't live up to their reputation. Okay? And so that's the first one, Kukong, together. What is the second hallmark of all conditioned things that make them like troublesome? Is they don't last. They move through. They move on. Things move on. And the last one is a little hard to get, but the language, if you tie it to something that we do, it makes sense, is search for identity. We're always like wanting, not always, some people don't. Some people just go straight ahead. And straight ahead includes numbing your mind with alcohol and shopping and lots of internet. But some people reflect on their situation. They say, what's the point of all this? Who am I? What do I really want? What's this all about? What's it all about, Alfie? And the answer to that question, the Buddha would say, is cannot be found in conditioned things. Because you can't find anything that is itself unique, only itself, forever and forever. Can't find it. And, body is a perfect one. Find your teeth, uniquely your teeth. Somebody says, well, DNA testing. Yeah, okay, so right. But it's, all things are that way. They can be reduced down to their component parts. And that is a physics lesson. That's a chemistry lesson. The Buddha is so insightful in his analysis of this stuff. So if you say that Buddhism is the most science-friendly religion, you're exactly right. I mean, by its nature, the practice of Buddhism takes you deeply into the heart of the world around you and yourself. I like that. And that's why I think, Buddha Dharma is going to catch on in places, I don't want to say in the West, but in places where people have a science-based education, because we want to know. Unless you don't. And there's a lot of people for whom Buddhism works best as devotion. Bless their hearts. They don't need to know what Amitabha said about conditioned dharmas. They just want to get to the Pure Land fast. No mistake. No side trips. So Namo Omi Tofu. That's real Buddhism as well, but it's not the only story. And there are people for whom it is not a story. The Vipassana mindfulness movement is not interested in devotion at this point in the historical flow of Buddhism to the West. But Buddhism contains both analysis and devotion, which is a big discovery for a lot of people who start as meditators. Okay, we're off on a sidetrack here. So, Bodhisattva says, all these conditioned dharmas bring with them lots of problems. Wheel Zixing, that is hallmark number 3, right? There's no self in them. Bushang Bumia, they are neither created nor destroyed the same way. If that makes no sense to you, think about the law of conservation of matter and energy that says matter is neither created nor destroyed. Energy it just keeps changing its faces. Arahang Chidabe. The Bodhisattva looks at this situation and his response is not, this is empty, it's futile, it's a waste of time, I'm gone. Right? What is the Bodhi? And that's always an option. I think the sutra pays a lot of attention to the fact that the Bodhisattva doesn't quit. In the face of emptiness of stuff, emptying out, he doesn't quit. And that's a big deal in the Avatamsaka, in the Mahayana. because there's an entire school of Buddhism where the cultivator, could be you, could be me, meditates to the place where he sees the nature of things, and he says, why would I hang out here? This stuff doesn't satisfy. This stuff keeps slipping right through my fingers like water. When you try to pick up water in your hand, splash. Everything in the world is just slipping through my fingers. What makes you think any sane person would stay here? Now I know the nature of it. I'm leaving. I'm jumping in my van and I'm driving back to San Jose. I'm out of here. Right? So he doesn't. Bodhisattva goes, oh, that's a lot of suffering. I'm going to Heng Qi Dabe, He Dabe, calm passion. He feels with them, Busha Zhongshan. He doesn't let them go. The Bodhisattva doesn't quit, which is cool. I mean, that's awesome. Qi de Bora Bola Mi Shen Qian. And on the spot, at that moment, Mahaprajnaparamita appears before him, and that Mahaprajnaparamita has a name, unobstructed wisdom light. Okay, something magical happens here, and this is hard to explain rationally. This is one of those moments where the Mahayana becomes really mystical. And when I'm done, we're going to ask Jin Chuanshi to explain this entire process for us. But wait till I'm finished, and then we'll put you on the spot. How the magic works here, precisely. He went to Stanford, so he understands that stuff. We Berkeley types, we invent a computer program, and at Stanford they explain how things. But we beat them in football like once every millennium. So who's holding the axe? I think Stanford's got it at the moment. We cross-bay rivalry. We won't do that here. Never mind. Okay, so why does Prajnaparamita appear in front of him right then, and why does Prajnaparamita have a name? It's like, what? Okay, what is Prajnaparamita? Well, it so happens that in the Sixth Patriarch Sutra lecture that I do, when was it? Yesterday. Hey, I do it on Saturday mornings, but no video, just audio. We're talking about Prajnaparamita. And here's the Sixth Patriarch, who's this woodchopper, a manual laborer, never learned to read and never had the opportunity. And he's explaining Prajnaparamita. And Prajnaparamita is fabulous. It has do you all know the image? There's, let's just say a word about Prajnaparamita, and I'll point to why it happens here. This is step number 6 of the paramitas. We've got dana, giving, generosity. We've got shila, which is morality, conduct. We've got shanti, which is patience, perfection. We've got virya, which is vigor, strength. And then we've got dhyana. Dhyana is meditation, concentration, perfection, followed by prajna, number 6, which is wisdom. And the 6th step always goes into emptiness. And if you think about that progression, here's the way to think about it. And it stitches through the Mahayana. Wherever the Mahayana texts appear, you get this list of 6. When you get to 5, the Bodhisattva is meditating. He or she is sitting still, looking deep, right? And what happens when you do that, if you've built the foundation of giving the morality and then patience and vigor, you work at it a long time, what happens is, in your meditation, stuff starts to change. And there are people sitting right there in Berkeley Monastery who've experienced this. Your body changes temperature, you get really hot, sometimes you get really cold, sometimes your body gets big, sometimes it shrinks away to a speck of dust. And there's technical language for this. but it's the, I guess you could call it the yoga of meditation. And the mind goes through changes too. Things that your senses perceive, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body mostly, and mind, that seemed formerly really solid and stable, their component parts start to show up, and they look insubstantial. If you sit there long enough, sometimes things just, you can see their electrical trails that hold them together. You can see the molecular glue that holds objects together into what appears normally to be solid. Because why? We're still in our rupa skandha. We're still in our form skandha, our bodies. We're stuck in our bodies. When we meditate and they say the light of our wisdom interacts with that first skandha, the world around us looks insubstantial. Progressively, it looks empty of any permanent identity. It's just a swirling soup of energy. I'm not speaking from experience, right? But I'm saying this is how, for example, the 50 Skandha Demons chapter of the Shurangama Sutra talks about meditation. The Bodhisattva's been through this stage, and he's now at the next stage, which is where he's still in the world, still goes to lunch, still answers the phone, still wakes up and washes his face in the morning. But he's also tuned into the emptiness at the heart of all conditioned things. That is a dichotomy. That's a split. He's got to balance both those things. Mundane solid reality and this new awareness of the ultimate electron soup of energy going to matter, matter going to energy. That's prajnaparamita. Where the ultimate truth of the non-existence, the bushang bumye, not born, not dying reality of stuff is true, and he has to function in that world with duality being real. Time is a straight line. Time is linear. This happened, this is happening, that will happen. He's got to pretend as if that were true so that he can function, but his discriminating consciousness has already flipped over into wisdom. So the other reality is true too. That's step 6. Right? You all follow so far? John Foe, does that make sense to you? Is that like clear as mud? Right? The meditator is like, she's got these two realities now. And one response that most people would do is, can't handle it, I'm gone. Take me to nirvana. Do you know the way to the other shore? Dum dum da dum 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 da dum. That's what he's doing. He's like, out of here, bye. That's the Arhat's response, right? Bodhisattva in the sutra says, nope, not enough. I gotta stick around and help other people because I care about them. I don't want people I care about to stumble in the dark forever. I'll wake them up. He constantly gives rise to compassion and doesn't forsake sentient beings. Right then, he gets the light of great wisdom, which is prajnaparamita. Okay, I'm going to share something, not that, close that I shared with our 6th Patriarch group, which is quite wonderful. And why don't I see it here? Okay, I'm going to have to look for it. Here we go. Homage to the perfect wisdom. There we go, right there. This is a praise of Prajnaparamita see, homage to the, where did it go? There it is right there. Gee, I have a lot of them. Okay, there's the new one, right? Oh, try this one. Let's see. Okay, this is a praise of perfect wisdom. Move it down here. That has been translated by Dr. Konza, Dr. Edward Konza. This is a 15th century commentary. Is that correct? I don't have the details. They're available, and I'll try to get them for people who want them. But this was brought to our attention back at Gold Mountain Monastery on 15th Street when someone was reading Dr. Konza's Buddhist wisdom texts book. And he had come up with this Shastra. This is a commentary written by a Shastra master in India praising perfect wisdom. And to say its authorship unknown, I think, is not accurate. Dr. Konza translated it, and for all of you who are translators, I want you to notice the voice in Dr. Konza's translation. Let me put that away for just a second. Konza was a European scholar trained in classics. He's Austrian. His father was an astronomer, so he was raised in a scholar's household, traditional European scholarship, rooted in the classics. So Konza, in this system, the first thing you learned once you got out of primary school was Greek, and the second thing was Latin. Any educated person needed to handle Greek and Latin because you were reading poets like Ovid and Virgil. You were reading the histories, history of the Peloponnesian Wars and Thucydides, and you were reading Plato and Aristotle, and this was what you did. It's kind of like in China, you learned you learned Hanzi first. You learned how to read the characters, and then some poetry, and then launched into whatever you were going to read. So in Europe, it was that way, and so that background in classical literature shows up in Konza's translations. He translated Prajnaparamita, that was his specialty, but he studied lots of Buddhism, and when he translated from educated English. Now, his diction also, instead of you, it's thee. Instead of yours, it's thine. Instead of you, it's thou. So it's got that archaic set of pronouns. But look, for example, we have, once he has accomplished such light of wisdom, although he cultivates the causes and conditions of the Bodhi shares, he does not dwell in the condition. And although he contemplates conditioned dharmas as being in their own nature still and extinct, he also does not dwell in still extinction because he has not yet perfected the Bodhi share dharmas. Okay, you hear that voice, right? And it's I would say, it's not a smooth voice. It sounds technical, kind of hard. Listen to Dr. Konza. I'm going to read it. You all can scan it as I read. And this is, now, we're not going to translate, we're not going to put thee and thou in the Buddha's mouth, but listen to the power of the language here. Ready? This is not a sutra, so I'm not going to put my palms together. But this is a praise of Prajnaparamita as if Prajnaparamita were a bodhisattva, were a being. You've seen that image, that beautiful image from Indonesia where Prajnaparamita is a woman. She's got her palms together and she's got the same face that Guanyin Bodhisattva at CTTB has. That same burned through, not burned out, but burned through face. Very dispassionate but kind. That's who this is written to. Okay, here we go. Homage to thee. Homage to thee, perfect wisdom, boundless in transcending thought. All thy limbs are without blemish, faultless those who thee discern. Spotless, unobstructed, silent like the vast expanse of space, who in truth does really see thee, the Tathagata perceives. As the moonlight does not differ from the moon, so also thou, who aboundst in holy virtues, and the teacher of the world. Those all pity who come to thee, Buddha Dharma heralding, they will win with ease, O gracious, majesty beyond compare. Pure in heart, when once they truly look upon thee, surely then their complete success is certain, O thou fruitful to behold. To all heroes who of others have the welfare close at heart, thou a mother who does nourish, who gives birth and who gives love. Teachers of the world, the Buddhas, are thine own compassionate sons. Then art thou, O blessed Lady, grandam, thus of beings all. All the immaculate perfections at all times encircle thee, as the stars surround the crescent, O thou blameless Holy One. Those in need of light, considering the Tathagatas, extol thee, the single one, as many, multiformed and many-named. As the drops of dew in contact with the sun's rays disappear, so all theorizings vanish once we have attained to thee. When as fearful thou appearest, thou engenderest fear in fools. When benignly thou appearest, comes assurance to the wise. How will one with no affection have for thee, though yet thy Lord have, O Mother, greed and loathing for the many other things? Not from anywhere thou comest, and to nowhere dost thou go. In no dwelling place have sages ever apprehended thee. Not to see thee in this manner is to have attained to thee, gaining thus the final freedom. Oh, how wonderful is this! One indeed is bound who sees thee, one who sees not, bound is too. Wonderful, profound, illustrious, hard thou art to recognize. Like a mock show, thou art seen, and yet thou art not seen at all. By all Buddhas, single Buddhas, by disciples courted too, thou the one path to salvation, there's no other, verily. Saviors of the world from pity, so that men might understand, speak of thee observing custom, but of thee they do not speak. Who is able here to praise thee, lacking marks and featureless, thou the range of speech transcending, not supported anywhere. In such words of current language, constantly we laud thee, who none of our acclaim concerneth, so we reach beatitude. By my praise of perfect wisdom, all the merit I may rear, let that make the world devoted to this wisdom without peer. Isn't that fine? Anybody still awake? Are you all like stupefied?
Very
That was so
nice.
beautiful, I fell asleep.
No, I don't want to cheapen it. I think it's really, really great translation, man. That is such good translation. Of course, you have to read it like Richard Burton. You have to really put some juice into it to make it come alive to read it. But when you do, it resounds. So, at Gold Mountain Monastery.
Dhamma Master,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but from over here, I think our room is dark because the light was a lot brighter just now. Is there a light that can be switched on in Paramita House?
Oh, the light is not bright enough on our side.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was
Okay,
a lot
good.
brighter earlier.
Okay, good. Nothing changed, right, son? Okay, we can turn one on here. Maybe that was me. Maybe my inner light just went out. I don't know. Does that help? That's another set of lights. Okay, I'll try to, let's see, I'll up my own inner radiance. How's this? There we go. Wow, you look brighter. So somebody read Konza's book, and one of our monks at Gold Mountain and said, this is pretty good. Let's add it to Zhao Ke. Because why? It's really English. And back at, people don't know this, I suppose, but Master Hua was always tweaking, always improving. He was always experimenting with things like morning ceremony. Okay? So whenever anybody, the word I was looking for was innovating. Master Hua was always innovating, making it new. And if somebody had a great idea for Zhao Ke, we would try it. We'd try it out. So I remember Tim Testu, the former Hongju, one morning brought this down, handed it to everybody. He mimeoed it off. We had mimeo copiers back then. And he made us all read it. And immediately we all went, wow, that's real English. And not that what we have, this is also real English, but one is somehow charged with meaning to the ultimate point, and the other kind of reads a little flatter, kind of like a tech manual. And so I love this. I just want to point out what, for example, let's see the dualities here, where he says. When as fearful thou appearest, thou engenderest fear in fools. When benignly thou appearest, comes assurance to the wise. So, prajnaparamita can sometimes scare you. That's why Manjushri holds a sword, right? If you're frightened, if it's so much truth, fools get afraid, as they should. And if you come benignly, the wise people just take heart in your kindness. Where he says, you don't come from anywhere, you don't go anywhere. Sages have never found you, right? That's the real flavor. It's both ultimate and provisional at the same time. One is bound who sees you, but one who doesn't see you is also bound. But it's a different kind of binding. One is voluntary and the other is karma, inescapable. You're wonderful, you're profound, you're illustrious, but you're really hard to recognize. Yep. So, like a mock show, you're seen and yet not seen at all. Seems like we kind of get you, but then there's nothing. Very wonderful. Oh. Any responses? What do you think? Feda, had you ever seen this before?
I think I might have seen it before. So I was actually wondering if when you chanted this at Gold Mountain, if there was a tune that went with it? Or was it just read?
It was a tune. Homage be perfect wisdom, boundless and transcending thought. All thy limbs are without blemish, faultless those who thee discern. Spotless, unobstructed, silent, like the vast expanse of space. Who in truth does really see thee, the Tathagata perceives. Da da dee 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 da 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 dum da 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 dee 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 dee. Since you've asked. Not really, something like that. We'll work on it. So that's the hymn to perfect wisdom. By next week, I'm going to look into the history of this text. We can find it. There is a story of who translated it. Comments, questions? Mai, what do you think about that? Had you heard that? You heard that on the Sixth Patriarch. You were there when I read it last time, right? What did you think? Does that English? Is that like too flowery, or does it work for you?
I think it works for me.
Okay.
I think it works well.
Nice. Alice, what do you think? That much like Old English? Would you recognize that as like ordinary English, or is it clearly like classical?
Yeah, classical. A little bit confused. Not clear to me.
Yeah. I think a lot of contemporary people, if you hadn't read Shakespeare in English, you might go, it's funny.
For sure. J. Tobias online said the praise flows like Shakespearean prose, Middle English era. Yeah,
correct. It does indeed. Yeah, and no surprise because Konza was trained in that. That's the tradition he upheld. And when you look at our English reflects our time. You know, we're in a time of internet and binary code and algorithms and tweets in 140 characters. You can't tweet Shakespeare. Twitter and Shakespeare don't mix. So, you know, all the immaculate perfections at all times encircle thee. You know, okay. Yeah. So anyway, that's Prajnaparamita, and let's see here. This was the Paramita. The image that that pops up is this. Let's see if we can get one. Here we go. Here's a Prajnaparamita in the Tibetan tradition. Female, right, holding a vajra, holding a sutra. This is the image from Indonesia that people know. And sitting in full lotus, hands in a mudra, but it's the face that is so compassionate, right? There's this, it's like Guanyin Bodhisattva at CTTB in samadhi, obviously concentrating, but wise and adorned. So this is the feminine Guanyin Bodhisattva, Prajnaparamita, personified as a woman. And anybody who is looking for a research topic, please investigate the crossover between Prajnaparamita as a woman and Sophia in European cosmology as the source of wisdom. Sophia, right? To the Greeks, Sophia was a woman and was wisdom, both. So somehow, where did Prajnaparamita here doesn't suggest a body. It's a principle, right? But somehow Prajnaparamita became a woman and had a form, and so too in the Hellenistic world, in the world of, you know, wisdom and science and magic all crossed over together. In the Middle East, Greece and India and Iran, and Persia, which became Iran, Sophia was the holder of wisdom. So who would be interested in like investigating that, writing it up? I'll definitely read whatever you write if you can come up with scholarship crossing over between Buddhist Prajnaparamita and Hellenistic Sophia as the holder of wisdom. Anybody offhand know anything about that? I've never read any writing about that. Mayola. Okay, so suggestion.
Dhamma Master, we are reading Socrates and Plato in the Symposium, and in the Symposium, Socrates attributes one of his sources of knowledge through Diotima, which is a priestess.
Interesting. Diotima, yeah. At one point, I'll just toss this out, and you all, if you ask me more about it, we'll have to do it offline. Master Hua, at one point, when he pushed me onto the Dharma seat while I still have my silence vow otherwise, and he said, okay, you lecture 90 minutes, don't take any notes up on stage, not even a piece of paper. You can only lecture from your own wisdom. And after I panicked, he said, it's all right, you can ask Sarasvati Bensaitenu for Jatcher, for her invisible aid. She will give you everything you need. Biensai Tianyu, Sarasvati, right? So, like, wait, what? Sure, what? Yeah, that was advice. You all know Sarasvati? Let's look here. Here's Sarasvati, right? Biensai Tianyu. This is notice, she plays a musical instrument. She has a hamsa, a goose, swan. She has a sutra and a rui, scepter, and there's a peacock. Here's another, let's see here, here's a good Sarasvati. She has a recitation beads here. And this is obviously a Hindu image, but it crosses right over into Buddhism. And once you look into it, Sarasvati turns out to be the patron saint of all kinds of culture, both written culture, musical culture, meditative culture, principle, things like eloquence, the ability to debate, all kinds of music. So this is Sarasvati. And if you go to, let's see here, Bien. I didn't plan to go in this direction with tonight's lecture, but since you asked me, right? Bien Cai, there we go. Tian Nu. Let's see. Get rid of that U there. There we go. Look at what comes up. This is the Buddhist version of Sarasvati. Guess what? Identical. The goddess of eloquence, right? Here she is. This is taken from, this is Miao Yin Fo Mu, wonderful voice, the Buddha's mother. In Dunhuang, she shows up in the caves, painted. So, how interesting, right? We've got this amazing crossover here between, this is the one I want to show. That's Korean version. Orchestra. So we have a crossover between Master Hua giving me an antidote for, or a method to not be afraid when faced with 90 minutes of silence if I don't start talking, and having no material and, other than my own interaction with the text to work on. And him pushing me to a similar kind of figure, saying this is where you'll get your strength. Interesting. So, if Socrates is turning to Diotima, maybe there's more here than we thought. Okay, that's food for thought. Okay, we're going to do more. See our text here? I'm going to read it. You don't have to repeat. Here we go. 成就如是智光明矣，随修习菩提分因缘而不住有为中，随观有为法，自性即灭，亦不住即灭中，以菩提分法为圆满故。Once he has accomplished such light of wisdom, although he cultivates the causes and conditions of the Bodhi shares, he does not dwell in the conditioned. And although he contemplates conditioned dharmas as being extinct in their own nature, still inextinct, as being in their own nature, still inextinct, he also does not dwell in still extinction, because he has not yet perfected the Bodhi share dharmas. Connecting the last paragraph, that light of Prajnaparamita appears, and he cultivates the causes and conditions of the Bodhi shares. Our first two lectures from Australia, we talked about that list of 7. There's also a list of 37, just to mention, also called Bodhi shares, limbs of enlightenment, wings to awakening. He cultivates those causes and conditions, but he doesn't only live there. Okay? He can do that when needed, but he doesn't stop with those. He doesn't stop in conditioned dharmas, which is where the bodhishares work. And although he knows the conditioned dharmas neither arise nor fall, they just transform, he doesn't stay on the emptiness side either, because it's not his home yet. He still has more to go. He's not completely a Buddha yet. So this paragraph is just saying the bodhisattva is learning to balance between those two extremes of understanding that all things ultimately are there kind of like illusions, like bubbles, like lightning drop, like lightning flashes, like dew, like dreams. He understands that, and he still has to be effective in the world. That's a balancing act, and he's getting good at it. But there's more to go. Right? So, what do we get out of this? The Avatamsaka is a textbook for bodhisattvas. It's a manual, right? And we're in the 6 out of 10, so he's more than halfway home, but not a lot more. And in the 6th step, he's learning how to do it. Because things are always like disappearing in front of his wisdom. And yet he has to, not pretend. He has to live as if everything still counts, everything is still real, and yet clearly he knows it's a play. Does that lead to schizophrenia, or does that lead to like great compassion? He is certainly a translator. He's always translating from ultimate to provisional. Let me stop with that and ask if people are getting that. Does that make sense? Can anybody put that in other words for me? Tam, did you hand you? Yes. Hand the microphone to Tam. Right.
In that particular paragraph, can you explain the last portion of it? Does it mean that once the bodhisattva perfect the bodhishare's dharma, then he will dwell in still extinction? Will he do that? Because right now he does not dwell in still extinction because he has not yet perfected. But does it imply that once he perfected the bodhishare's dharma, he will dwell in?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I think the answer is yes. I think he does. But I've actually never heard anybody talk about that. I can't quote Master Chengguan, the Tang Dynasty, and I don't think Shifu did either. But logically, I think the way the paragraph is set up, I think so. Why? When you perfect the Bodhishare Dharmas, the door to nirvana is open to you. And this says, he sees that things in the world, the conditioned dharmas, everything that comes together, he can contemplate how they're only temporarily adhering, right? He sees the process of matter to energy, energy to matter. But he doesn't pick one side and leave. If he did, quote, dwell in still extinction, if he decided to stay with nirvana, he wouldn't get involved anymore. His vows would finish. He'd be done. Once he, quote, perfects the Bodhishare Dharmas, the last one of which, you remember, is Sure, which is equanimity. It's like letting go. Once he gets to the end of those, I don't think he's teaching anymore. I think his teaching is done. Is that how you hear it, Tam? Is that what sense you make of it?
Yes, that the 37 bodhishares. I wonder in which stage is this bodhisattva we are talking?
Yeah, it's hard.
Talking about in which stage is he? sort of.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of it, or the middle of it, or the beginning?
He's definitely still on the road. He's a sixth ground bodhisattva, sixth stage bodhisattva. And, you know, if you keep this question in mind, when we get on to the seventh, eighth, and ninth stages, you'll see, even then, there's more road ahead. For example, we're coming up to this big crossroads. And I've read commentators, I guess Master Chongguan, our Tang Dynasty commentator, who said, in the path of the Bodhisattva, in the career of the Bodhisattva, there are two most important moments. There's two genuine watersheds where what came before and what comes after are very, very different. The first is when you make the Bodhi resolve, when you decide that Buddhahood is your goal and it's doable, you can do it, you're going to do it. And you're going to do it by solving the problems of those closest to you. In other words, crossing living beings over. That's how you get to Buddhahood, right? So it's two parts. I'm going to be a Buddha, and I'm going to do it by taking everybody across. That's moment number one. That's the big watershed. The second biggest moment in the career of a bodhisattva happens between the seventh and the eighth ground, is when you become, they say, irreversible to enlightenment, right? You've heard that? It's called Avatamsaka, no further retreat. It's the state where they say you are patient when dharmas no longer arise. It's the third kind of patience. Why is that a watershed? It's because, and this is 6, right? And that's at the end of 7. When you get through 7, the emptiness that you're watching here has grown so much that it starts to overtake the reality part, you know, the conditioned part. And it's very easy to go crazy at that point. And if you don't go crazy, it's very easy to just quit. And a lot of people do. Because it seems like there's no path ahead. It seems like there's nowhere to go beyond that. This is how they describe it. And it takes a leap of faith. It's so difficult and so profound, they say that the Buddhas show up to the Bodhisattva at that point and say, don't forget your vows. Living beings are still suffering like mad, right? Los Angeles is still a mess that it was before. You've got to help out. Don't quit now. Keep going. Cultivate one more step. Take another step. And with that kind of encouragement, the Bodhisattva, you know, kind of just says, okay, and leaps across like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid jumping off the cliff, you know, into the river. Butch can't swim. And they jump and they make it. So the Bodhisattva jumps and wakes up in the 8th ground. Sure enough, the road was open. It was just a perception. So and at that point, irreversible. There's no further chance that he'll not cultivate to Buddhahood. So that's the second one, right? So they say those are the two big moments of the Bodhisattva path. And this guy, this girl, this woman, man, is still, he's deeply involved in emptiness now because he's seeing it. But it's still, he hasn't mastered it yet. So, right? He's a sophomore on his way. Got junior and senior year to go. Yeah, was that Homero? Who am I seeing there? Right there with the hand up.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. Thanks for the question.
My name is TJ.
Hi, TJ.
Reverend Master, when the Buddha obtained enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, and he's said to have taught for a long time and functioned in the conventional world, and he would often say things like, I see it this way, but I am talking to you and I use conventional terms like I and you. So that sort of seems very much like this passage where he's talking about not dwelling in the conditioned, yet not dwelling in still extinction. I guess, except that he is now a Buddha. So I was just wondering how that squares with this being a description of the Bodhisattva and someone who's not yet made the Buddha.
Yeah, thanks for the comment. Yeah, it's the same as far as I can tell. I mean, I don't know what the Buddha was like, but I saw my teacher. And you often, on one hand, Master Hua, when he talked to you, you felt like he was seeing every thought in your mind. You just had the feeling that you were transparent and he was seeing right through you. But at the same, and of course that took focus. His focus was laser-like. He couldn't hide. But then, right in the middle of that, you would somehow have the feeling that the person next to you was having the same experience and the person behind you was having the same experience. That you were not his sole focus because there was more going on, you know. It was, sometimes you had the feeling that Master Hua was out in the cosmos and right with you at the same time. Very uncanny being next to somebody who was so present. There was none of him was covered. People would talk about, you know, wanting sunglasses sitting in front of Master Hua because they would get sunburned by his radiance of his light. And so, yeah, what was he seeing? I don't know, not my state, but clearly more than simply the present state of particulars presenting, you know, in front of him. So yeah, what would it be like? What would it be like to, I guess, talking to a kid? If you talk to a kid and the kid doesn't understand why he has to go to bed, right? It's bedtime. I want to stay up. Well, you need to go to sleep. Why do I need to go to sleep? The adult knows the kid has to go to sleep. It's bedtime, and the kid needs sleep, and will be, no matter what, in half an hour the kid's going to be sacked out, whether he's in bed or not. But the kid doesn't get it. So the adult has to, you know how it's going to end. The kid's going to be in bed, but you have to go through it. I think it's probably the same, something like that. Right? That makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really, you just imagine the Bodhisattva here is, he sees all these things. He clear on these three seals of Dharma, the three hallmarks, but he's still got to explain to living beings why it's not a good idea to go to Reno for the Christmas party. And we had a family who every year they would come and listen to the sutras, and then we wouldn't see them over Christmas, and they'd come back and, where'd you go? Well, we went to a Christmas party. Oh, how was it? Well, it would have been more fun if he hadn't lost his key in the snow and we had all the alcohol in the trunk of the car and we couldn't, oh, yeah. Well, how was it? Well, he lost his wallet, Of course, it was empty because he gambled it all away. And I said, oh, how do you feel? Oh, rotten. Did you have fun? A lot of fun. And they just never quite connected that all of that suffering was actually miserable. They were miserable, but they were supposed to have fun because it was Reno and the Christmas party, and they were at Harrah's Club, and the city that never sleeps. Not fun. It really wasn't fun. But we're attached. So. Yeah, okay, let's see here. I would actually, yes, we do. We have time. I want to go further in. Okay, let's make some progress here. 佛子菩萨住次现前地，得入空三昧，自性空三昧，第一义空三昧，第一空三昧，大空三昧，合空三昧，起空三昧。如是不分别空三昧，不舍离空三昧，离不离空三昧。此菩萨得如是，是空三昧门为首，百千空三昧皆系现前。 如是实无相，实无愿，三昧门未受，百千无相，无愿，三昧门皆系现前. Disciples of the Buddha, when the Bodhisattva dwells on this, the ground of manifestation, he attains the samadhi of emptiness of entry, the samadhi of emptiness of own nature, the samadhi of emptiness in the primary sense, the samadhi of foremost emptiness, the samadhi of great emptiness, the samadhi of emptiness of combining, the samadhi of emptiness of arising, the samadhi of undiscriminated emptiness as it truly is, the samadhi of non-forsaking emptiness, and the samadhi of the emptiness of non-separating separation. This bodhisattva attains those 10 kinds of samadhi doors of emptiness as primary, and then millions of samadhis of emptiness all manifest before him. In the same way, with 10 samadhi doors of marklessness and 10 samadhi doors of wishlessness as foremost, 10 million samadhi doors of marklessness, wishlessness all manifest before him. So it's a list here, typical Avatamsaka list, because there are 10 things. And if we don't get anything out of that, understand that that's pretty abstract. It's hard to understand what's going on. I will not pretend that I understand this more deeply than you all, because this is, again, a technical description. This is not descriptive. This is a shop manual. This is a how-to. This is assemble your vacuum cleaner instructions. This is, put the monitor on a stand and connect the cable to the modem instructions for a profound meditator. These 10 samadhis all actually arise from inside. They're not from anywhere else. This is the mind responding to the work the Bodhisattva has done, bringing about his new awareness, his new wisdom, based on his vows, right? So, 10 kinds of samadhi. On the ground of manifestation, the 6th ground, these things happen. You get the Ru, Kong, San Mei. The samadhi, notice they all have the word Kong, and they all have San Mei. So these are emptiness samadhis. And these days, I like to translate it as emptying out. It's not that it's empty. Empty sounds like nothing there. Like it's, you open the box and there's nothing inside, so it's empty. It's not that. It's a samadhi whereby you can see directly past the surface into the heart of stuff and notice that it's not what you thought. That's the empty part. It's not full of self-permanence and satisfaction. Those things are emptied out. That's what it means. So, you get the samadhi that lets you enter into that emptiness. 自性空. You get the samadhi where the nature of things is seen to be insubstantial. It's not there. Emptiness of the samadhi of the emptiness of the primary meaning. Truth in the primary sense, which means what? No self. That is truth in the primary sense. Premier emptiness, emptying. The best kind, foremost. Da Kong Same, the great, the huge, the massive emptying out, samadhi. So everything around you starts to come apart. That's scary. He Kong, the samadhi that unites with emptiness, with emptying. So things start to piece together in their emptiness. It's not little broken experiences, it's pervasive. Qi Kong, things are empty as they rise up. Ru Shi Bu Fen Bie, in their reality not different. Samadhi, right? Bu She Li, the samadhi that you don't leave, you don't go away from. And the Li Bu Li, where you leave or not leave and it's the same. That's really cool. At that point it doesn't matter. Everything is pervasively emptied out. So you can leave or not leave, it's the same. This bodhisattva gets these 10 kinds of empty samadhi doors, takes those as primary, those are the first things, but then there's 100,000 others that open up around them. So his mind is really reacting with the Dharma right now. So here we have this funny list: Wu Xiang, Wu Yuan, Wu Xiang. Here we go. Kong, Wu Xiang, Wu Yuan. We'll go into that next week. Those are these three doors of liberation: empty, no characteristics, and then nothing further to seek. Those are three qualities of this meditative state. Those all appear in front of him, and we're out of here. So, if that last bit leaves us in the dust, don't worry. This is advanced bodhisattva meditation. Right? Imagine if that were a college course. My golly. All right. I think we're going to stop at this point and transfer the merit. It's now 9 o'clock in California and 2 o'clock here in Australia. And we've done okay with a one computer, small audience. Sam and all of you. And folks are across campus at the Jinfang Shi, I think, is watching us, and maybe Jinfu, we don't know, over in our Dharma Hall. And so Australia is doing its part, but it's not ideal. We're still trying to improve our broadcast. And we hope next week, if Telstra delivers on their modem in time, we should be over in that Dharma Hall with a live audience and able to explain the Avatamsaka Sutra with a little more adorned, a little more visually and audio-wise, a little improvement. Let's hope that's the case. But anyway, it's nice. I really appreciate folks coming out on a Saturday around the planet to look into the Avatamsaka. It's really special. There aren't many places where people would ask about bodhisattvas or care about how they think. And our teacher opened this up for us, and it's joyful to be able to carry it forward. I wanted to share something with you. What's that? Say again, sir. Oh, yes. Master Da'an. Jin Chuan Shi, could you give us a little story about how Master Da'an came to Berkeley today while you're that morning, and what happened? How'd it go?
Pretty good. I don't know if you have the link. I sent you some pictures in your email.
Mm-hmm. I do.
Okay.
And get them right now.
So, Dharma Master Da'an came to Berkeley Buddhist Monastery today, and I think quite a few people here tonight were also at the lecture. We had a full house. The whole Buddha hall was completely full, as well as part of the balcony. I think we had maybe a little bit over 100 people show up for the lecture.
Oh, goodness, that's fabulous.
And then the lecture ended like about 45 minutes late because people kept asking questions. So I think he was ready to go, but people kept him. But basically, this is a picture of transference. So they're not quite in order, but at the very end, we transfer the merit together. But just to give a little bit of background, Dharma Master Da'an is the abbot of Dongling Monastery, which is the monastery. I was reading a little bit of details. It's actually the monastery, the first patriarch of the Pure Land School. If I got my facts wrong, please correct me. But I believe it's the first patriarch of the Pure Land School set up that monastery, Dongling Monastery in China. And so it's a very important monastery in the Buddhist tradition. So he's the abbot there now since 2011. And so he came to speak and gave a talk on the Earth Store Sutra and its relationship with the Pure Land practice. And I thought it was a very interesting talk. Many people found it meaningful because they never thought of the Earth Store Sutra from the perspective of the Pure Land Dharma Amitabha mindfulness practice. And he mentioned that 3 of the stories about Earth Store Bodhisattva's vows had a relationship with mindfulness of the Buddha. The first story of the elder son seeing the Buddha and making a vow was mindfulness of the image of the Buddha. The Brahmin girl being mindful of the Buddha, and the other girl who wanted to save her mother also was mindfulness of the Buddha. So he told that stories, and it was, I think, very well received, and people asked questions, and he gave, I think, very skillful responses. I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts about it, but otherwise I think the visit went very well, and he'll be speaking tomorrow and the following day at Bodhi Way, which is in San Jose. So he'll be speaking, I think, on great strength bodhisattvas, penetrations. How would you translate it?
That's called perfect understanding through mindfulness of the Buddha.
Yeah, perfect understanding through mindfulness of the Buddha.
Yeah. How did the translation go?
Okay. I realized I really need to work on my Chinese. There's a couple of times when he broke out into a four character Chinese phrases, about 6 or 7 in a row, and I was like, uh-oh.
See?
And so that was tricky. And one time he was speaking for quite a while, and I heard 自信 and 信 something. I thought, faith. Why is it faith? And I tried to figure out like how what he's saying means anything to do with faith. And then basically when it was time to translate it, I asked the audience, what does this word mean? And everybody said, oh, that means the awakened nature. I said, oh, that all makes sense now. So yeah,
right.
It was kind of
okay. So
kind of interesting.
For you students of Chinese, there is a phase when you're learning Chinese where you're getting the tones. There's a phase where you're getting the grammar. When you get the verbs and the objects, straightened out. Then there's a phase where you catch everyday vocabulary and the kind of ordinary flow of conversation. And that's where most people stop. And then you speak in Chinese. If you want to get further, you have to learn those 四字成语, the 4-character idioms that Jin Chuanshu is talking about. And boy, if you don't have those, you're lost. And because you can't fake it. And if you have them, if you're like, when I'm able to throw one in at the right time, people go, oh, 你的中文好棒. People know that the sign of an educated person, even among the Chinese, is somebody who knows when and how to use those idioms. It's like if you can say, a stitch in time saves 9, and throw it in at the right moment, everybody goes, oh yeah, right. So that's really it. And he threw you some fastballs there, huh?
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
For sure.
Good indeed. Yes, is that your name? Go ahead.
Yes, YC online. YC is watching online, I think, and she said, Jiang, Shifu and Shimu came to the lecture too, and that the Buddha recitation elders attended the morning Dharma assembly as well as the lecture.
Wow, that's great. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. So, wow, the news got around. If the Jiangs came all the way, that means the Chinese Buddhist community in the Bay Area found out about it. Excellent. Who would have told them? Or we didn't advertise on posters, right? It was all done by the internet.
I don't know, but I'm guessing probably Bodhi Way probably did some advertising. We didn't do much. We didn't do too much communication, but I think they made an effort to communicate with various groups about his coming. We got quite a few phone calls here at the monastery.
Glad it worked out. Very nice. And the monks who came with him, the monk who came with him, and the layman, they were also part of the group, right?
Yes, we had a layman and the monk and a layman who had all the tech gear. He had a very nice camera and set everything up, and he's like a one-man videography team.
Outstanding. Okay. All right. Are there any announcements? Anything to know? Our regular autumn schedule is in full swing. Is that right?
Yes, we have all the DRBU classes have now started. Professor Verhoeven's class began last night on Friday night. Was the first class, and from here on out, we'll have classes every Friday night. Doug Powers also had his class on Monday, and that class will be every other Monday on Buddhism for the Modern Mind. And also, the Earth Store session is going to be starting tonight at 10,000 Buddhas. So people want to participate in that session, you can go to CDTB, and there will be the celebration of Earth Star Bodhisattva's birthday, I believe, is tomorrow. If people want to go for that. Yeah.
There you go. All right. Can you all see my whale on my desktop?
Yes.
That I actually took that photograph. And that's a, how many ton? 6 ton? What do they say? 4 ton? 4 ton adolescent boy whale slapping the water, showing off for his classmates and responding to us in the boat. So, yeah. And Mai mentioned on Facebook that you all went whale watching down in Monterey. Is that right, Carmel?
You have a microphone? She's getting a mic. Wait. No, you have to go. You turn it on and wait. Wait 3 seconds. Yeah, now go. Now you can talk. Yeah, good.
Yes, but we didn't have a chance to take a picture, a photo, nice as like you did, because we didn't expect to see it. So it happened so fast.
I know. It happens really fast.
Yes, your picture is great.
We went out with Sam Ong. Here's my Dharma protector here. Sam's class. He's in a school in Gold Coast and in a place called Surfer's Paradise, appropriately so. And the school went out, and they had half price on this one boat. And it's a family that takes people out. And one of the teachers at the school teaches multimedia. It's a guy named Samir from Brazil, and he had a nice camera. And somehow he must have had some sort of whale tong. Instead of shen tong, he had whale tong, because this boy whale breached 12 times. And Samir was always there to get the whale on the way up, breaching. I would always react too slowly, so I got it, you can see, like, mostly in the water. I was always a half second too late. But Samir got these incredible photos of the whale going up and down, up and down. So we really had fun. And one of the startling things is how close they are to the shore. And they're just like 400 yards off the beach. And apparently it's because their food, because the water's warming up, the food is closer than ever. They say that there are more whales now off of Monterey and Santa Cruz than they've ever seen before, because the water's warming up. They used to be down in Baja, off of Mexico, and now they're coming north because the water's warmed up so much. They're following the food. So if anybody, ever thought of seeing a whale, now's the time to go out and charter a boat. There are the ones that are writing about in the San Francisco Chronicle are the guys who go out in kayaks to do whale watching, and the kayak, is right on the water surface. And this whale is the largest mammal on the planet, and they're just huge. They take a while, to get the whole body out and then back in. They're giant, and in a kayak, that would seem like the sky is falling. But anyway, so there are lots of ways to go. Probably if you wanted to see whales, now might be the time before they're gone. So anyway, that was fun. All right. So we're going to transfer the merit here from Australia and think about all of the refugees who, in a bit of happy news, were greeted in Germany recently. Instead of being pushed back into the sea, I saw something extremely moving in the New York Times. There is a black and white photo essay today of 2 boats that came out from Eritrea. The boats are supposed to hold 40 people tops, and they were holding 737 people in the boat designed for 40. And they set off on what they hoped would be a 6-hour voyage, and it was actually closer to 6 days. And they had food for a day. And Doctors Without Borders, Médecins Sans Frontières, rescued them and saved them all. But on the 3rd boat, there were 3 that set out from Eritrea in North Africa, and people died on that one. But the black and white photos show these people who look like us, you know. They're not different. They're North Africans, but they're just folks who can't stay where they are. It's not safe there. So there's anywhere is safer than here. That's the thought when you become a refugee. Anywhere is safer than here. I got to leave. And these photos show how desperate that is, and the incredible suffering of leaving your home and leaving everything that you know that supports your life and your identity behind. You know? So if we don't have anywhere else to transfer, this is certainly one place we can transfer merit, that those folks can find roots for their lives. Okay, let's send out that merit, and we'll see you all next week. Hope the guitar sounds okay over the wires. May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find it, unity, may their minds awake to bring compassion, wisdom, to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and may this boundless light dispel the darkness of their endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of hate turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Okay, we appreciate everybody who helped put this webcast together. We'll see you all next week. Bye-bye, everybody. Jin Chuan Shi, you want to lead everybody in bowing, or Jin Ho Shi?
Okay, one moment.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Everybody can please stand.